Hey everybody, welcome to Triggered Care. I'm Alex. Today I'm talking about trauma bugs. What I mean by trauma bugs is just weird ways your brain bugs out due to trauma. The first bug I'm going to talk about is standby mode. And what I mean by that is the time that you're sitting there and your brain is blank and you're staring at a wall. And it's like your brain goes off to another universe or something. And it's not like you don't have stuff to do. You have plenty to do. Just for whatever reason, you're stuck sitting in a chair for an extended period of time. I mean, these periods can get into hours sometimes. And for whatever reason, it's like you can't move. And it almost feels like you're waiting for something, but you're not sure exactly what it is you're waiting for. My theory on why this happens is because a lot of times when I relate to people on this, they also had an abusive or neglectful childhood. And what I think it is when you live in terror, you had to be ready to respond to an emergency at a moment's notice. You had to be ready to help. You had to be ready to perform your duties, whatever they were at the time. And living with somebody who is ultra demanding, ultra in control, you knew that you didn't have much choice other than to sit there and wait for orders to be told for you to follow them. So when you get out, when you start getting into recovery, that's been systematically put in to your life by your brain as you need to sit and wait for orders. So even when you don't need to, then what ends up happening is you end up sitting for an extended amount of time and being like, why am I doing this? Because you don't remember being a kid just sitting and waiting to hear the demands, but you did quite a bit. But our brains, since they're so disassociated at that time, you're not going to put that in your memory bank. That was just a reality of living in that environment. My next trauma bug would be poor balance and or neurological issues. And what that looks like is pretty much you have really bad balance since you can remember. You trip a lot. You're clumsy. You don't really navigate your body very well. You're easily tipped over. Also, there's ears ringing problems. There's vertigo problems, dizziness. Migraines come and go along with having tremors or shaky hands like you have a neurological issue. But then when you go into the doctor, everything looks normal. But you still have these neurological issues. What this is it's actually a different disorder. It's conversion disorder. And with a lot of stress and with trauma, what can happen is that your brain thinks that it's sick, and so it will act like it's sick. And it is all in your head, but you don't have control over it. Conversion disorder can often happen in sexual assault survivors, especially if the sexual assault happened during their childhood. There's a great book on this that goes into all the research done with this and things that doctors have noticed when dealing with PTSD patients who have neurological issues. The book is called Vagina, A New Biography by Naomi Wolf. I don't want to mispronounce her name. Naomi Wolf. Vagina, A New Biography. I highly suggest it, especially for those of you who had sexual assault in your childhood and have a lot of weird physical symptoms, especially if they seem neurological, because, I can't get into the science of it too much. I haven't done as much research as I should have probably, but yeah, I highly suggest reading into that book and becoming familiar, if any of these symptoms sound familiar, becoming familiar with conversion disorder. The next trauma bug I have is autoimmune disorders. Uh, Too much stress, too much cortisol for too extended of a time can cause lupus, alopecia, uh, a whole slew of immune disorders. I myself, I have alopecia. I've had it for a few years now. Um, it it just really sucks that you get stressed to the point where your autoimmune system starts attacking itself. But you know, what can you do other than go to the doctor and try? I mean, there's nothing you can do, really. And that's one of the things that sucks is because I have no good advice for this bug. If I did, I'd be using it on myself, but I don't. So this one is just more of a, let's band together and complain about how much it sucks when your body fights against itself. The last bug I have to talk about is the odd phobias where you don't necessarily know why you have such an extreme reaction to it. And pretty much what they are, they're triggers, but when you don't know what it's triggering, and well, I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, I loved bike riding. I bike rode all the time with my best friend, with my sisters. We lived out in the country. It was nice. I got older. I didn't ride bike for a little while, and then me and my husband, we were dating at the time, so he was my boyfriend. We moved in together, and we wanted to go for a bike ride. And I was up for it because I had always liked bike riding, but for whatever reason, about 2 miles into the bike ride, I start getting really sweaty. I start hyperventilating. I start disassociating severely to the point where I fall. I just tip over. Just my legs stop moving, and it's like I was gone in another place. And during this, I'm falling off the bike. And I crash down hard, and it kind of gets me to ground again real quick because it's like, oh crap, I fell over. What happened? So a couple years go by, and I try bike riding again because, I'm like, well, maybe that was just a flop or whatever. And so this time, I'm married to my husband. We're going out for a bike ride. And the same thing, after a few miles in, and this time we were in town, in downtown, and I was riding my bike and I could feel myself start disassociating, but I wanted to work through it. I was telling myself, oh, you're not a baby. Stop being such a baby, just do it. And my vision started blacking out with hallucinations and flashbacks, and before I knew it, I rode my bike right into a curb after crossing a street and flipped over the handlebars. And then I start weeping and crying, and I'm apologizing, like, I'm so sorry, I ruined our bike day. And my husband's like, I'm so sorry I made you come. And it's like, no, it's not your fault. Like, I wanted a bike ride, but for whatever reason, my brain cannot handle bikes. And to this day, I don't know what it is. I don't know why I have such a severe reaction to that. And it took me a long time to realize that I have a severe reaction to parents in general as well. Because, if you don't think about it and all of a sudden you're in that situation that's reminding you of a trauma that you repressed, your body goes crazy. So that's sort of like a bug of, malfunctioning in your brain. Especially when you can't track it down and you have no idea why. Because most of the stuff, I can track down, but for whatever reason, my bike memory will not come back. There's my video for trauma bugs. I actually had to re-record this part because I found some quotes from Naomi Wolf's book that I'm going to add at the end here that really made me see things a little bit differently and really kind of put things into perspective as far as the conversion disorder goes. Anyway, Discord links are at the bottom. Thank you for watching. I hope you're having a good one. This is from Naomi Wolf's book. Some of his patients, Dr. Richmond told me, come to him with a symptom called phobic postural sway, which means they sway under stress or can be pushed over easily. Others have conversion gait disorders. Their gait swerves even though there is nothing apparently physically wrong with them. Still, others experience visual vertigo, meaning that they feel dizzy for no obvious reason. Other symptom clusters he had found that appeared along with histories of rape included the feeling of falling continually or morning nausea. In a group of women that I have seen who fall over easily, in a test in which I push them, I will ask about sexual abuse history, and frequently I will find it. That is a bias. I don't ask all my patients this question. That is, I don't ask those who don't demonstrate these symptoms if they've been sexually abused. But it is useful to ask about sexual abuse when these symptoms do appear, because that can lead to the right diagnostic test. So you can literally push rape and sexual abuse survivors over more easily, I asked. Yes, Dr. Richmond confirmed. If I ask these women to close their eyes and stand, there may be a slight sway. Most people do not have a perceptible amount of sway. If you lightly push most people, they will resist. They won't sidestep or fall over or be grossly off balance, but these women will. If you push them, they will keep falling over. You have to catch them. It is a disproportionate physical response, not congruent with their physical functioning. They have normal strength, normal reflexes, normal physical functioning. They have no objective neurological deficits, no vestibular lesions or other brain injuries, which can cause similar findings. For instance, these women have no physical evidence of neurological problem, but their bodies are reacting as if they do have a neurological problem. Once I instruct them to resist, Dr. Richmond said of his sexually traumatized patients, I can push them with all my strength and they will be solid as a rock. That astonished me. When a rape survivor is told to resist, her body reacts differently. So that's a mind-body thing. Exactly. For what it's worth, I imagine my role as a physician and as an authority allows them to resist. The stability is there once they have given permission to resist. These are the same patients who, without the instruction, fall over when pushed. To restate what Mr. Richmond is saying, rape victims are sometimes literally destabilized by rape.